Thank you for the opportunity to appear before the committee. I'm a community neurorehabilitation clinician of over 35 years of practice across community, hospital, government and research settings. I work directly with people living with acquired brain injury, traumatic brain injury and other neurological conditions, including NDIS participants in my current practice. Some of the people I support I've known for many years, long enough to see not only the injury itself, but the trajectory of what sustains a person after that injury and what happens when those supports are removed. I want to make one central argument to the committee. In my submission, I had a number of areas that I covered, but this one is for people with acquired brain injury. Community participation supports are not simply a social amenity. They're often a form of cognitive infrastructure or a prosthetic. Let me explain. I guess following an acquired brain injury, functions associated with frontal lobe, prefrontal regions, and the brain, including planning, sequencing, initiation, problem solving, self-regulation, may be significantly affected. I guess traditional funding approaches treat these abilities as capacities that exist within the individual. In my clinical practice, I think that it is incomplete. For many people with brain injury, executive function is distributed across a network of relationships and supports, be it skilled practitioners, family members, community programs, structured routines, trusted environments. And I like to describe this as distributed executive cognition. And you see that often even in the workplace, where a worker may do something for you and remind you that you've left your car keys in your drawer and you've locked your drawer. Now, what I'd like to also say is they're not part of these reductions that they're planning on making. Community participation supports are not just removing a social engagement, they're removing the external structures that allows a person to function with impaired executive function, and they're able to remain safe and independent. I want to illustrate this with a composite example from my clinical experience. And I call this person Glenn, and there are thousands of Glens out there. Glenn lives with a significant frontal lobe impairment following a brain injury. After over many years, he developed a functional support network that compensated for these impairments. Community activities, consistent support workers, and family involvement, providing memory, planning, and continuity. When a key family member's support became unavailable due to dementia, the impact was not a small reduction in support, the entire system became unstable. Routines broke down, planning became difficult, community participation became inaccessible. I guess this is what happens when a compensatory system is weakened. The consequences are often disproportionate to the apparent size of that change. And as I read, a 50% reduction in community participation supports starting from October 1 is going to be creating exactly this type of disruption for many people with an acquired brain injury. The consequences will not disappear, they'll shift elsewhere, into crisis services, emergency departments, mental health systems, criminal justice, to families, and ultimately it will come back to the NDIS through increased complexity and higher cost interventions. My request to the committee is specific. I ask that participants with acquired brain injury and other conditions affecting their executive function be exempted from these participation budget costs until a clinically informed framework has been developed to distinguish what is discretionary, what is a social support, and what are functionally necessary for the cognitive compensation. For a person who cannot walk, the NDIS funds and recognises the role of a wheelchair. For a person whose brain injury affects planning, initiation, self-regulation, the equivalent support is not visible, but it's no less essential. The infrastructure is invisible, but the disability is real. This bill, as drafted, risks dismantling the infrastructure without recognising what it provides. And I'm happy to take questions. Thank you.